Hello, lovely people. And can you believe we have got to the end of another month? They are spinning by just way too quick. It's just insane. What on earth? September's done. It's the last day of September today. October starts tomorrow. So I thought I'd do my September happies. It's been a whirlwind month. It's been a crazy month. I feel like I've lived about 8 months in 1 month. I look tired and I'm not surprised. I'm surprised I'm still standing. It's been crazy. But there are lots of September happies in there. There's been lots of decks. There's been lots of tarot cards. There's been some beautiful books. There has been success and failure. There's been back to normality, then back into abnormality. There's been sickness in the house. There's been sickness with the dogs, there's been sickness with my car. It's been crazy. It's been crazy. But anyway, my September happies, what's happened in September. Let's give everybody who's interested, if there isn't anybody who's interested, an update. I've got some lovely decks to share. Right, so the start of the month. Let's do decks first. The start of the month, I kept getting called back to this. I love this deck, the Tower of the She. It's such a gloriously beautiful, powerful, arty, deep, divine deck. I love it. It's one of my all-time favourites, and it reads beautifully. It doesn't pull any punches, but it's also not unkind. The artwork is just divine, and I've loved it. So the first couple of weeks I worked a lot with this, but I paired it with the indie deck that Christoph James kindly sent me and gifted to me. And these two together, they work so nicely together. So for a long time, I didn't want to work with anything else but these two together. I think it's to do with, I'm all twisted here, I'm doing this. I think it's to do with the colourway on them. The colours do work really nicely together. But they also read so nicely as well. They read so well together. And I like the fact that the size difference as well. This combo has made me want to get more mini decks and like the little decks in tins. Oh, hang on, let's turn the baby the right way up. Because I've liked that size difference to work with. Yeah, so these two decks together have been a goodie. I mean, you can see the way that they work together, like visually. So I've loved that. That was a good first 2 weeks of working with those. And while I was working with that, my journaling was on point. I was doing printouts and long journal spreads and really getting to the deep nitty-gritty of what was going on with all these tarot readings, giving myself pointers forward. Top of the journaling class for a while, but then it all fell apart. So I was only top of the class for a little bit, so I haven't turned into a stick to beat anybody with just yet. So those two decks absolutely scratched all the itches you could possibly think of. I'll show you this oracle as well, because with an oracle card as a general overview on those decks, with those two decks. Am I making any sense? Don't think I am. The Sacred Earth Oracle. I'm going to slow down. The Sacred Earth Oracle also works beautifully with those two decks, which I've put away, but take my word for it, they do. This Oracle is really beautiful. It really is. And if you've got the Tarot of the She or the Rain Coast Tarot, and you want a oracle that will pair with it, if I just use the front of the book to kind of give you an idea of the way the artwork works together. it worked really nicely. So I'd got the 3 decks going as well. Oracle cards from this, and then the 2 tarots. This is a really lovely, lovely deck. It's got artwork that just makes me catch my breath. So those are the 3 decks I started with my top of the class journaling. And as soon as I was doing so well, I decided to get a deck that I've wanted to work for a while with, but I knew it would require some study. So I decided to do some working with the Mary L Tarot. And I know that I uploaded some videos of some of the early studies I've started doing last month around this deck. It's gorgeous. This is the 2nd edition. It's got the silver edges. It's the slippiest deck I own. The amount of times I've dropped this deck on the floor, it's not even funny anymore. But it's been really, really lovely to work with. So I've been working... Oh, this card, I tell you, every time I pick up this deck, that card flies out. So I am just reminding myself, because my memory is just literally non-existent. I was working with this deck. What was I working with this deck with? Oh, again, this Oracle deck stayed out. Because again, this Oracle also pairs beautifully with the Mary L. Gosh, let's turn it the right way up. It's been one of those mornings, honestly. So this was the most of the rest of the month. I mean, look at that. I'm just grabbing these as they arrive, but you can see how nicely these decks work together. So that's the Mary L Tarot and the Sacred Earth Oracle. Just really lovely. Again, no synchronicities. So I kind of was doing some deep studying on that, and again some really good journal entries around it for the next week. And then the kids started back to school on the 2nd week, and it was all fine. But then my 2 youngest, Poppy and Busby, they both went off sick for a whole week. They had like flu-like symptoms and like no temperatures or coughs, so I wasn't lining up for any virus tests. But most of my lads' class was off sick with we've all been in lockdown for such a long time now. I think we were all going to find that germs and getting around other people were going to hit us hard, and it did. My 2 kids ended up here for a week, both poorly, both needing me. I didn't feel very well either. It knocked me off my feet a little bit. So at that point, the journaling kind of stopped, and what also stopped was the hard 75 that I was doing, which was diet, drinking water, 2 lots of exercise a day, reading non-fiction books every day. So I'd got to day 22, and with illness hitting, that kind of stopped, and I have to admit it hasn't started again because I've just been so busy. Yeah, so I needed to simplify. I'd got kids off sick. My inner critic had kicked in telling me I was a failure because I'd stopped the hard 75, even though for love nor money I couldn't have done it. Not as a single mom with poorly kids and feeling poorly. There's just no way. And I needed to simplify, and I didn't feel like doing a study deck anymore. So I paired 2 really simple decks. This literally Witch's Oracle, when I'm feeling like that, and feeling overwhelmed and feeling like I need a hug, this is the deck that calls to me, even though I haven't really understood it. Me and this deck have a strange connection. And I love it at a very deep, I don't understand it yet level. Those are the backs. And I just was pulling one card, and not even every day. I needed to simplify it right back. And just reading this intuitively, the guidebook does have keywords for these cards. They're like spell object cards, like the types of things you can imagine including in a spell or stirring into a cauldron. And then there are these cards which are linked to the authors, which also come with their own key meanings. But this deck, I just wanted to take it simple, and I decided to pair it with another deck that I read intuitively, which is another deck that feels like a warm hug, which is my Soul Cards 1 deck. And these two decks together, let me show you what I pulled out yesterday that's up in front of me. I mean, look at that. I don't need any more than that at the moment out, and I can't deal with any more than that at the moment out mentally. So these have been out for a couple of days. For me, I read this as, you know, being able to see clearly, clear vision. You know, the fog has cleared. I've got clear vision, and I've got clear vision of what lights my soul on fire, like my inner gold, and how to share that. And to like make sure that I stay close to what I see as my vision. And this came at the point this week where I've decided to share my poetry and my artwork more on the channel, because it's part of what lights my soul on fire. It's what makes me me. And to pull these two cards, it was just the clarification I needed to go ahead and to understand that that's fine. And the end part of this month, these two decks have been all that I've wanted. It's just been all that I've wanted, and it's been simple enough. There's been no meanings to learn. There's been no, well, the guidebook says this, but I feel it's this. These have just been intuitive hits that I have absolutely loved working with. I really love both of these decks, and I think combined they're my favourite, I have to say, combined. This milk card I got virtually every time. I even checked to see if it was bent or bigger or something, because it kept coming out. Just so good. And I hope you can see how beautifully they work together. I think they do. They work beautifully for me. And the hedgehog card as well. I kept pulling that as well this last couple of weeks. So anyway, those are the decks. So it's been a deep dive with the Mary L. The Sacred Earth Oracle has kind of been the oracle of choice. The Pocket Coast and the Tower of the She as well. And then taking it right back to Soul Cards and the Literary Witches Oracle. Just some really beautiful cards and decks to work with, and I feel really blessed to have decks like this in my collection that I can work with. Just, it's really wonderful. I'm going to put those away carefully because I don't want anything getting lost. I read the book that you order this book separately. It's the actual book that comes with the Literary Witches Oracle, and because I didn't really understand how it worked, I decided to read this book cover to cover. And to be honest, it still doesn't really explain how the deck works. What it did do was it made me want to read more of these authors. There are a lot of writers from different backgrounds, different races, and I just thought, with the climate at the moment and with Black Lives Matter and all the horrible racism that we see out and about, and with my own studies now into white privilege and checking my own stance within this collective consciousness, that it was about time I read some of these authors. So I've picked some of the authors of colour in here, and I've ordered some books. Even though I'm on a depth year, this has been important enough for me to break that. So this book has taken me down rabbit holes, really, but it's not really clarified the deck as much, which I think it's either the deck, I'm beginning to realise, is an intuitive deck. This helps with the intuition if you want to read the authors, which I do, so that's been fun to read. The other book that I read was another Starhawk book, The Earth Path. This is wonderful if you want to use nature and natural elements within your practice. Elements within this book, there's a section on air, fire, water and earth. There's also a section on the centre and about patterns, pattern observation in nature, and how we can use that in our practice. So it all comes from the viewpoint that if we observe nature, and within nature and the elements, there's everything we need to know for ourselves and our own position on earth, and how to walk gently on the earth. It's a beautiful book. The opening section on observation and how to observe, and observing the sacred in nature. It's worth getting this book just for that, just for lessons in how to observe. The end of the book, where it talks about the centre, talks about sacred geometry in nature, which again is fascinating to read. Similar to the Spiral Dance, which was the other Starhawk book I read a few months ago. This is full of practical exercises, rituals, chants, meditations, for you to do that, for you to connect with nature within your practice, to find out ways to become part of Mother Earth rather than somebody just walking on Mother Earth. And it's just beautiful. I think the observations of air in particular, and the way that the power of air disperses through trees, and watching that completely changed many a walk through the woods for me. It's a really lovely book. It's one I do recommend. So that was the second book I read. And then I've got another two on the go, which I haven't finished yet. I thought I'd treat myself in amongst all this study to just some fiction, just something to entertain me. And this is the first in, I think it's a trilogy, called The Raven Boys. Now this is by the same, I'm going to destroy her name, so there's her name. I'll do the Maggie bit and leave it at that. But she is the creator of the Raven's Prophecy tarot deck. And that deck is based on these novels. I'm that far through, so I'm just under halfway through. And it's really good. It's classed as young adult fiction. So sometimes young adult fiction is brilliant. Sometimes it's a bit, sometimes it's a bit. But this isn't. This is really good. I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to find out what happens. I didn't order the other two books because I'm on depth year, but I reckon that'll be another break. Depth year isn't going great. I have to give an update on that. But yeah, The Raven Boys, brilliant book. And I've also been reading this one, the Milo Duquette Thoth, Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot deck, which is really good. it's it's probably the book I would recommend you go to first when you're learning Thoth, which I've just started to do. I haven't used my Thoth deck this month. I've been reading this. I'm not far in. I've only read that. I'm only up to chapter 7. But so far I'm loving it. Really good book. So that's been my reading this month. Like I say, the tarot journal and my tarot journaling has been brilliant up until a certain point when the kids got sick. Then I got sick, and then my car windscreen wipers broke, so I was in and out of garages. Then Rupert got sick. I don't know what he did. He did something to his gut, and anyway, that saw me up and down to the vets with big vet bills again. He's okay now after a series of steroid shots. He was that close to needing to go under anaesthetic for an exploratory op. Thank goodness we didn't get there. But there's been a lot of things happening. So all the kids got better, and I thought, right, start again, start of a new week. They're all back at school again. The school run saw me waving Tilly off on her taxi to go to special needs school, and I was just mid drop off with the other 2 kids when I had a phone call from Tilly's special needs school saying her bubble's closed, 2 classes are shut down, don't send it in. At this point she's already on the taxi going in. There has been a confirmed case of you know what in her class, at which point I said she's already on her way in, and they said you need to come and get her immediately. She needs to go into quarantine. Now bear in mind her class is only a class of about 8 kids, and there's a confirmed case in that class, and she's completely vulnerable with virtually no working immune system. And bear into the mix that I've already nearly lost her once to a virus because she's so susceptible. It was quite a phone call to get. At which point I burst into tears with my daughter about to get out the car to go into her school, going, please stop crying, Mum, I can't go into school. And I closed the car door and said, you can't go into school anyway, darling, until I find out whether you can or not. So that put us back into quarantine and homeschooling. And yeah, so the exhaustion and my illness kind of didn't go anywhere. In fact, it just got worse. Hence, you can see the bags under my eyes. Thank goodness the child that was positive was asymptomatic, so he's doing fine, which is a blessing. Tilly is now back to school from today. Fine, no symptoms, a blessing. It was a scare. It was way too close for comfort. With the dog being sick as well, it just felt like it was all crashing in. And within all of that mix, I forgot about the 2 art challenges that are starting tomorrow, which had prompts released a month ago, which I only remembered 5 days ago. So the last week of this month has seen me looking after Tilly in quarantine, homeschooling, and back in the art studio trying to prep for Inktober and Drawaline, which are 2 art drawing prompts which I mentioned in my last video, which I'm really excited to be taking part in. I have thrown poetry into the mix as well, which again I mentioned in the last video. So I've been busy in the art studio, and I am going to start uploading daily videos, possibly daily videos, who knows, I might do 5 days and then keel over, I don't know yet. But yeah, from tomorrow there's going to be more art on the channel. October is Baptism by Fire. Some of the Inktober drawings are full on, and they're full on, and I hope they're received okay. Some of them are probably a bit dodgy, but I know my process. I just hope you guys like them, and if you don't, that you're kind about not liking them. but yeah, it's been crazy. It's been creative. It's been a roller coaster. It's been full of beautiful tarot decks, and it's been full of sickness and challenge as well, and scares. My goodness me, it was a scare. So it's kind of felt like a month in two halves. A very put together, organised, ticking all my goals off first half, to a complete collapse. A complete collapse and abandonment of goals in the second half, and my internal critic kicking in, which I've managed to shut up quite quickly, so that's good. But isn't that just life? It's either one thing or it's the other. In amongst it all, I did snag a bargain, a depth year bargain. I'm not doing very well, am I? But this, I'm allowing this one because I've been looking for this for a while, and it's the Ted Andrews rune set, which I did share on my animal decks video. But it's full of beautiful wooden animal runes, and I got it for a steal. I've never been able to find it because it's not made anymore, and it came up on eBay, and I just thought, that's going to go for completely silly money because everybody's going to want it. And I put a minimum bid on, and then I put a few pounds above minimum bid and walked away. That was my concession to depth year. I wasn't going to start bidding silly. I was going to just walk away. And I got it for just over £12. So I thought I'd share that because that was a real September happy. That made me really squeal with joy. I absolutely loved that. I am going to do an update soon about what's happening with depth year and successes and failures so far. But that's it, guys. That's kind of the whole month in a nutshell. It's been like a seesaw ride for me. Lots of lovely tarot decks, lots of lovely books, lots of lovely kids but often sick, lots of lovely dogs but often sick. The car's now fixed, and the garden is giving up tomatoes now, which is wonderful. The leaves are falling off the tree. Mabon is here. The autumn equinox has passed. I made my Mabon altar. I'm trying to reel the garden in now, tidy it up, start putting it to bed. I'm doing the final harvesting, carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, got the fridge full of all of them. So yeah, it's been an interesting September. Finished off with excitement in the art studio. It's my pattern. I do gardening, and then I feel a pull back to the art studio, and that's where I'm at now. So you will naturally see the garden being put to bed and the art studio coming into play now, and I hope you like it. I can't quite get over how fast this year's going. A simplifying down for me, less cards out at a time. My tarot journal, I don't even think I'm going to do a monthly spread. I'm just going to finish off the pages I've got for this next month. I'm taking pressure off because I put more pressure on with the drawing projects that I'm doing. And I hope you've all had a lovely September. I hope you haven't had the scares that I've had. And I hope you're looking forward to October. We're still in crazy days, aren't we? But I hope in that craziness you're finding time for yourself, and time to follow your own soul loves. I look forward to catching up on any catch-up videos you do, and thank you guys for supporting the channel and being here and all your wonderful comments and clicking like and subscribing. It's just been really lovely. There is going to be a giveaway coming soon for October. I was going to say September then, so stay tuned for that to show my heartfelt appreciation for you wonderful tribe of people. And yeah, I will see you again soon. There's art coming tomorrow. Buckle up, that's your warning. And I'll see you soon. Bye guys.